At last year's FBI oversight hearing, Ray committed to protecting whistleblowers that have approached my office about wrongdoing at the department and the FBI. Do you commit to me, this committee, and the Senate as a whole, that any retaliatory conduct against whistleblowers will be disciplined?
I do, Senator, and you know well, more than any other member of this committee, that I've been a staunch supporter of whistleblowers and of the False Claims Act during the entire period of my role as a judge as well.
I'm going to set up a hypothetical fact pattern for you and ask you to tell me how you would handle it. The Justice Department and FBI receive information from over a dozen sources. That's the first one. Second, those sources provide similar information about potential criminal conduct relating to a single individual. And third, that information was shared with the Department and FBI over a period of years. According to department policy and procedures, what steps would the department take to determine the truth and accuracy of the information provided by those sources?
I'm sorry, these are whistleblowers, so they're internal sources? Is that what you're saying? I'm not sure.
Doesn't matter where that comes from. Just the fact that I want to know you got that information. How would you go about handling it?
Yeah, so reports of wrongdoing are normally reported to whatever the appropriate department component is. It might be U.S. Attorney's offices in the district in which it allegedly took place. It might be directly to FBI components and to FBI task forces. In cases involving whistleblowers, of course, there are specific provisions for making complaints to the Inspector General's office or the Office of Professional Responsibility or the Inspections Division of the FBI.
Recent lawfully protected whistleblower disclosures to my office indicate that the Justice Department and the FBI had at one time over a dozen sources that provided potentially criminal information relating to Hunter Biden. The alleged volume and similarity of the information would demand that the Justice Department investigate the truth and accuracy of the information. Accordingly, what steps has the Justice Department taken to determine the truth and accuracy of information provided? Congress and the American people, I think, have a right to know.
So as the committee well knows from my confirmation hearing, I promised to leave the matter of Hunter Biden in the hands of the U.S. Attorney for the District of Delaware, who was appointed in the previous administration. So any information like that should have gone or should have gone to that U.S. Attorney's offices and the FBI squad that's working with him. I have pledged not to interfere with that investigation, and I have carried through on my pledge.
In April 2022, you testified to Senator Hagerty that the Hunter Biden investigation was insulated from political interference because it was assigned to, as you just now told me, to the Delaware Attorney's Office. However, that could be misleading because without special counsel authority, he could need permission of another U.S. attorney in certain circumstances to bring charges outside the District of Delaware. I'd like clarification from you with respect to these concerns.
The U.S. Attorney in Delaware has been advised that he has full authority to make those kind of referrals that you're talking about or to bring cases in other jurisdictions if he feels it's necessary. And I will assure that if he does, he will be able to do that.
Does the Delaware U.S. Attorney lack independent charging authority over certain criminal allegations against the President's son outside of the District of Delaware?
He would have to bring, if it's in another district, he would have to bring the case in another district. But as I said, I have promised to ensure that he's able to carry out his investigation and that he be able to run it. And if he needs to bring it in another jurisdiction, he will have full authority to do that.
If you provided the Delaware U.S. Attorney with special counsel authority, isn't it true that he wouldn't need permission of another U.S. Attorney to bring charges?
Oh, it's a kind of a complicated question. If under the regulations, that kind of act, he would have to bring to me, to the Attorney General under the regulations. Those kind of charging decisions would have to be brought. I would then have to authorize it and permit it to be brought in another jurisdiction. And that is exactly what I promised to do here already. That if he needs to bring a case in another jurisdiction, he will have my full authority to do that.
Has the Delaware U.S. Attorney sought permission of another U.S. Attorney's office, such as in the District of Columbia or in California, to bring charges? If so, was it denied?
So I don't know the answer to that. I do, and I don't want to get into the internal elements of decision-making by the U.S. Attorney, but he has been advised that he is not to be denied anything that he needs, and if that were to happen, it should ascend through the department's ranks, and I have not heard anything from that office to suggest that they are not able to do everything that the U.S. Attorney wants to do.
Well, let me give you my view. If Weiss, the U.S. Attorney there in Delaware, must seek permission from a Biden-appointed U.S. Attorney to bring charges, then the Hunter Biden criminal investigation isn't insulated from political interference, as you've publicly proclaimed. If the Justice Department received information that foreign persons had evidence of improper or unlawful financial payment paid to elected officials or other politically exposed persons, and those payments may have influenced policy decisions, would that pose a national security concern and demand a full investigation? And when Ray was here, he seemed to answer that question that it was a national security concern. I want your opinion.
In the way that if I follow the question exactly right, if it's an agent of a foreign government asking someone and paying someone to do things to support that foreign government in secret, yes, I definitely think that would be a national security problem.
Okay, my last question is to whistleblowers have confidentially asserted that the DOJ's Public Integrity Unit, I think I'm going to leave that question for another round. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Senator.
Thanks, Senator Grassley. Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you very much, Attorney General Garland, for being here. I know a major goal of yours was working to build morale in the department, filling a number of the jobs, and I want to personally thank you for the work of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minnesota and our U.S. Attorney Andy Lugar, who I know you know. And he actually, at his swearing in, announced a major strategy to address violent crime that directed federal law enforcement to prioritize cases including carjackings. We've had a rash of those cases in Minnesota, and the trafficking of firearms. Under his leadership, every federal prosecutor, as you are aware, and your leadership in the office will now take on violent crime cases. Can you talk about how the department's approach to focusing on violent crime is centered on partnerships with local agencies and what you're doing?
Yeah, I want to begin by saying that we well recognize that there is a terrible problem of violent crime. And the reason violent crime is important to the federal government is because it makes it impossible for people to go about their ordinary lives and carry out their civic responsibilities and their family responsibilities without fear. So the department is very seized with this problem. One of the very first things I did after becoming Attorney General, this was I think in May, is to establish an anti-violent crime strategy, which involves the kind of partnerships that you're talking about, and the kind of individual district-by-district determination that U.S. Attorney Lugar has made in his own district as to what is most necessary in that district to fight violent crime. Okay. Our plan involves three sets of partnerships. One is among all federal law enforcement, FBI, DEA, marshals, ATF, and Homeland Security and other agencies, so that there is no turf fighting, that we all work together in joint task forces, that those partnerships at the second level be expanded to state and local law enforcement, police, and sheriffs. There are not enough federal law enforcement in the world to deal with the problem of violent crime. This is largely a state and local issue and problem, and they are our force multipliers, and we are their resource and expertise multipliers. So in every jurisdiction, the U.S. Attorney is responsible for creating a task force of federal and state. And then finally, there has to be relationships with the community. As a former violent crime prosecutor myself, I know we don't get witnesses to testify in violent crime cases unless the community trusts us. The community doesn't trust us if law enforcement doesn't engage with them, show that we're being honest and transparent about our work, and through our funding mechanisms provide grants for violence interruption and violence intervention.
Okay, thank you.
That's in a nutshell. Is a
Thank you
violent crime
for
program.
the thorough answer. I'm going to just now do a bit of a rapid round follow-up on some of these.
Sure.
You mentioned law enforcement. You noted in your testimony that the COPS office has dedicated $224 million to help law enforcement. Senator Murkowski and I have long championed the COPS hiring program through the COPS Reauthorization Act. I assume you continue to support that and continue to support the work that needs to be done to address police officer recruitment and retention issues.
Yeah, absolutely. In the previous fiscal year, I think we had $100 million to distribute, which we did for COPS hiring, for recruitment and retention. In the next fiscal year, we expect over $200 million for the same purpose. We know how difficult police departments are, how much difficulty they're having with respect to recruitment and retention. And we are trying to do everything we can, both in terms of grants and in terms of expertise to help.
Okay, very good. Minnesota, currently a backlog of around 3,800 DNA cases awaiting testing. Senator Cornyn and I are working together on the Debbie Smith Act, and would that help law enforcement have the tools they need? These numbers just came out yesterday, so it's very timely.
Absolutely. I think that needs to be re-upped, and we are very strongly supportive of providing more funds to state and locals for DNA rape kits and forensic analysis and the like.
Okay, I want to leave 2 minutes for antitrust, so just one quick other follow-up. Senator Capito and I asked what steps the department has taken to stop the trafficking of fentanyl on the dark web. I know some of my colleagues have asked about fentanyl. Any update you want to give on that, or you could give it in writing afterward?
Well, I'll give you more detail in writing. As you know, we had a major takedown of 2 different dark web websites which were trafficking in fentanyl. And we are continuing to investigate using our cyber tools to take those websites down and to arrest the operators.
Okay.